Welcome to Kolkata, the
Thank
city
you.
of joy and city of culture.
Thank
So,
you.
how does it feel to be here in Kolkata?
Oh, it feels good. Yeah. I've been here a couple of times over the years, and so it's kind of great to. I mean, anytime I've generally come to India, it's been mainly to spend time with family. So it's really kind of nice to take in being a part of this film festival and being part of like a more cultural event. Yeah, this time around.
We just saw your short film, very interesting. It talks about employees in a cubicle and work thing. What was the initial inspiration for this film?
So I wrote the original idea. I had like a draft of the screenplay. I wrote probably about like over 10 years ago, like maybe even longer than like yeah, probably about, like maybe 12 years ago. I came up with the idea. What inspired it was maybe just sort of playing very literally with like the idea of work-life balance and sacrificing one for the other and sort of like having the illusion and like maybe having the illusion of a social life that's kind of still very tethered to what sustains you a bit, and but also like genuinely, sort of like how do you find sort of moments of joy and how do you find like some fun and even like bad situations like that. So it was just sort of like it was an absurd idea that occurred to me of like people who sleep in their cubicle space and just literally live there, and sort of playing with that and playing with like the idea of them not really even that being normal to them. Yeah.
Talking about your filmmaking journey, what's the initial inspiration for to start filmmaking? Like, somebody in your family, or how did it all start?
I've always been, I mean, film has always been really important to me. I've always been a big film buff, and I mean, since I was a kid. And I actually did study film at the University of Texas at Austin. And when I was in Austin, though, I just ended up starting acting more, and I found that a lot more enjoyable and fulfilling and fun. So I did more like local sort of avant-garde theater in Austin, and I just wanted to keep pursuing acting. So I came here. I came not came here. Came to New York to go to acting school, and when I was doing that, also a little bit after acting school, I started doing stand-up comedy for a little bit, and then I moved to San Francisco for a little while to pursue that a little bit more intensively. And then I came back to New York to do both again. I stopped doing stand-up eventually, kept on acting, and then yeah, I mean, it's. I also did like a big part of this journey was doing a lot more improvisational work and sketch comedy work, and so improv was great, and that got those, because you create on the spot. Obviously, you're not writing it, but then that did lead to like me writing more sketch comedy and doing some like one-man shows, like some different like sort of independent one-man shows that I did over the years. Just sort of playing with different ideas and themes and characters, and then I eventually just, film always calls to me, and eventually, like whenever I was able to, I just started to go back to writing more, and I wrote this script a while back, just kept returning to it over the years, kept adding things to it over the years, yeah.
How's the indie filmmaking scene? If I ask you back home, how's the scene right now?
The indie filmmaking scene. I mean, I think like it feels like there's a lot of people doing their own thing. I mean, I feel like everyone has a platform now. It feels like with YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. It's a great question. I wish I had. There's a lot of good festivals that are out there now. I've been able to sort of attend a few different festivals with some of the earlier films I did and this one. And I've been seeing a lot of good stuff. I mean, I think kind of in America, at least, like the mainstream seems to be like a certain template of filmmaking right now, and it seems to be just very Marvel oriented and very like kind of superhero oriented. And we're not getting a lot of variety within that. Like there was a time where like you'd have a lot of those films where like different you'd have different types of those action films, right? And so I think that there are a lot of festivals out there where you're seeing a lot of filmmakers trying new things. I'd love for that to be a lot more. I'd love for them to have more platforms and to have more avenues to showcase that, because there's a tendency of like, you see it at the festival and you enjoy it, and it's like, oh, that was interesting, and then we never hear we don't see that film again, we don't hear from that filmmaker again, and that's a shame. But, at the same time, I mean, maybe it's just because everyone does have their own platform too, that may be also, that may encourage people to kind of keep taking more risks, finding their own like aesthetics, challenging the aesthetic and narrative and storytelling tropes that were sort of force-fed, and try new things. So I don't have a good like summation of it, but I think it's kind of like it's everywhere, but it's also like, how do we sort of like give them a platform where more audiences can really see that and they can sustain themselves, instead of it just being a situation where we're all only taking our nights and weekends to do what we love to do.
With AI becoming a big thing right now, do you think AI can be a threat to filmmaking, or like what's your thought on this whole issue of AI and filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, technology is technology. I mean, I think that any technology, if you have oversight over it, could probably do some good things. I'd say the threat is, and it seems to be the way that like a lot of business interests want it to be, of like stealing a lot of people's content, training these models, and then sort of like pushing aside the people pushing aside those voices that you trained on, and then basically like a lot of people being run out of town. And I mean, at the same time, like what's kind of disturbing is that I think like a lot of the AI stuff that I've seen is really boring. It looks good. So like, I think like what I get this today in 2025, like it feels like what people get excited, or what they sell us to be excited about, is just like, wow, it looks so real, and it looks like it's creating a real film and telling a real story without using any of the labor to do that. And it's like a lot of stuff that I've seen AI content, I'm not interested in it, and it seems to like hinge on this premise of like, but a computer did this, so isn't that exciting? And it's like, okay, and I think audiences are going to get tired of that. The problem is that like it's going to be like this sort of like closed down mill town, where like it's like a steel town where like the industry just left and like no one has anything to do now. And so I just worry about people's livelihoods being decimated. I'm not like, in terms of like artistically, I'm not worried about it, because I think it's kind of boring, and I think that people will still crave the human to human connection. This is why anyone likes to come to the cinema. I really think that like even like the most like silly trashy thing, I think there's still a human to human connection that people still get out of it.
And the last question, the youngsters are watching this, if they want to pursue a journey to filmmaking or any performing arts, your word of advice for them?
Just to do it. I don't. This is like the same advice you're probably hearing from everyone else, and it's just to do it. Just to like, we all can sort of like create our own platforms at this point, and like I was saying with like YouTube and TikTok and these other Instagram. So that is there. I mean, you can make a good-looking film on your phone. Like, so I think also I would say when you sort of like that sort of intimidation, which I still go through all the time, of like, I have this idea, I'm not sure how to do this. When you take that first step, you'll probably find a lot of people who want to help you, who will have like-minded interests. You will probably find that you have a lot of people in your life and in your community who can work with you, and you can work with them. And I think we all kind of forget that. We see this idea, it looks like a big mountain, and you're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to climb that mountain. But when you sit down and you sort of like think about like, how would I get this done pragmatically, there's probably like a lot of resources that you actually have that you may not be noticing in the moment. So it's great. It's great to do that too. It's great to sort of realize like how much you have, and realize the community you have.
Wonderful. Thank you for this wonderful chat.
No, thank you.